What happens when a criminal empire burns but its ideas don't? And how do you stop a machine that learns from every failure? This is the story Australia was never meant to see, a story of coded chemistry, digital ghosts, and a criminal network that rose from its own ashes. A system so advanced it didn't need a kingpin, only data. Welcome back to Crime Cipher. If you're ready to step into the flames, subscribe and join the cipher. Now let's decode the rebirth of an empire. The truth is simple: ideas are harder to kill than people. Empires end, but philosophies linger in shadows, waiting for the next spark. Australia learned this the hard way. One raid at a time, one silence at a time, one coded message at a time. When Operation Blackout raided 9 of Australia's biggest meth superlabs, the headlines were triumphant. Reporters called it a victory, a decapitation strike, the destruction of an empire. But the people celebrating made one mistake. They celebrated too early. Because beneath the charred concrete and rubble, something else was forming. Not another lab, but an idea. An idea that didn't need a leader or headquarters. An idea that couldn't be burned down. That idea would become known as the Phoenix Protocol. After the fire, Operation Blackout should have ended everything. Instead, it reset the board. The Australian Federal Police expected purity levels to drop and supply chains to collapse. But 3 months later, wastewater analysis revealed the opposite. Meth levels were higher, purity unchanged, and distribution faster than ever. Taskforce Pyrite stayed at the numbers as if something impossible was unfolding. How could an empire with 9 destroyed superlabs suddenly expand its reach? The truth dawned slowly and painfully. The old system was centralized, predictable, and vulnerable. But the new system was scattered like embers on the wind. The answer appeared on a map dotted with small red lights representing microclusters, tiny, decentralized labs scattered across regional Australia. Many were built inside shipping containers, modified farm sheds, and mobile trailers. These were not traditional labs, they were modular units. Each produced around 5 kilos a week, enough for local distribution and nearly impossible to detect. The alchemist's empire had not died. It had evolved. You can burn a lab and arrest a chemist, but you cannot kill an idea. Modular purity systems were spreading like a virus engineered to survive fire. Each microlab was silent, efficient, and nearly invisible. And worst of all, they could be set up by almost anyone with basic tools and a willingness to follow digital instructions. The new architects. Where the alchemist vanished, chaos should have followed. But instead, something far more organized emerged. On dark web chemical forums, anonymous users began posting fragments of a new system. These were not recipes but blueprints. Not formulas but philosophies. One user, calling themselves Red Ash, uploaded a 92-page document titled Phoenix Protocol V1. It was a complete kit, guiding readers on how to construct microreactors using farm equipment, aquarium pumps, solar grids, and 3D printed components. It broke down complex chemistry into step-by-step engineering tasks that almost anyone could replicate with patience and a few legal parts. The document opened with the line, "When the empire burns, we rise." Fireproof synthesis for a new era. To authorities, it was terror. To chemists, it was liberation. The government response. In Canberra, a classified brief titled Rise of Phoenix Microlabs triggered immediate action. The Australian Federal Police launched Project Alios, with a mission to trace every precursor chemical from factory to field. But the problem wasn't smuggling. It was the legitimate supply chain itself. Nearly half of the chemicals feeding Phoenix labs came from real recycling plants, diverted quietly by employees. Barrels of expired pharmaceutical chemicals mysteriously vanished during transport, marked as destroyed but secretly redirected. The system wasn't being hacked. It was being bled from the inside. When AFP raided a warehouse in Adelaide, they expected disorganization and gang markings. Instead, they found order, whiteboards filled with data, QR-coded containers, meticulously arranged solar-powered reactors, and precision-engineered 3D printed filters. There were no gang colors or piles of cash. Only organization, calculation, and scientific precision. It was the alchemist's dream made real, chemistry without superstition. Every wire was labeled, every step documented, every risk pre-calculated. The Spectre Recode. In March 2025, AFP Cyberforensics cracked a server operating from Singapore. Inside were Phoenix Protocol versions 2, 3, and 4. But hidden in the code was something far more concerning. A signature reading S3P, Spectre 3.0 protocol. The digital ghost of Australia's cyber underworld had merged with chemistry. Phoenix was no longer just a lab network. It had become a self-learning organism. Every microlab using Phoenix equipment was automatically uploading encrypted data. This included yield numbers, temperature patterns, purity ratios, equipment failures, and adjustments. When one lab failed, the system corrected another. When a lab was raided, risk models improved. When a design broke, a better version replaced it. This was no longer a cartel or a gang. It was an algorithm, an evolving digital chemical ecosystem. The burnback. Taskforce Pyrite realized they could not defeat Phoenix from the outside. They had to infiltrate it. They launched Operation Ashfall, a counterintelligence sting where agents posed as chemical suppliers on the dark web. Over several weeks, they completed 43 sales to Phoenix-affiliated buyers. Each transaction allowed them to log addresses, wallets, and movement patterns. But arrests were not the goal. Their true mission was data corruption. They fed the Spectre network false information, incorrect temperature thresholds, flawed pressure cycles, misleading purity reports, and intentionally skewed failure logs. For 3 weeks, Phoenix servers went silent. No updates, no new posts, no chatter. Authorities believed they had finally destabilized the system. Taskforce Pyrite called it machine mutation. Spectre called it progress. And for the first time, authorities understood the terrifying truth. Phoenix had become anti-fragile. Anything that didn't kill it only made it stronger. The rebirth. By late 2025, raids across Australia uncovered a new generation of microlabs. These were not simple replicas of older designs. Each one was an upgraded model incorporating new technology or innovations. One lab used AI-controlled temperature stabilization to prevent hotspots. Another utilized drones to move precursors through remote landscapes at night. Some labs incorporated thermal camouflage panels to avoid detection by aircraft. Others relied on rainwater-fed cooling systems to stay off-grid entirely. The coming war. Experts warned that the next phase wouldn't be chemical, it would be digital. If Phoenix could learn from its environment, replicate its systems, and distribute itself across nations, then the next evolution could be something even more autonomous. Some analysts predicted fully automated labs built by drones. Others whispered about AI-driven chemical models capable of designing new compounds. The fire wasn't just spreading, it was preparing for a storm no one was ready to face. The alchemist built the formulas. Spectre gave them a mind. Phoenix gave them immortality. Crime had transformed into code. Chemistry had become intelligence. The conflict was no longer between police and criminals, but between humanity and a system that could rebuild itself infinitely. You can burn buildings and arrest individuals, but you cannot eliminate an idea that constantly reforms. And so the real question remains, if the fire never dies, can anyone ever win? This is Crime Cipher. If this decode opened your eyes, subscribe, like, and comment Phoenix to join the cipher.